This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Reese's Pieces. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And this week we are continuing our dive into the 80s as we have in the last couple of weeks. This week our guest was actually born in the 80s, which is good because the last couple of guests were late bloomers in the mid-90s and didn't have much connection to that decade, but that's okay. So returning today is a fan favorite. A lot of people have loved his episodes. He is the founder and creator of Dead Leaf Games. And one of my oldest friends in the world. Please welcome back to the show, Josh Sacco.
Hello there.
Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good.
I asked if I don't know. We've just been half an hour chatting before.
Yeah, this is a surprise question straight out of the gate.
That's it. It's good to have you back. I think the last time you were on, we were talking about animated films. And since then, we've just discussed what a terrible idea that was to try and limit animation to 5 movies.
Yeah, no, it was good. It got me thinking about all the shows I'd watched and all the ones I hadn't yet, and everything in between, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think around that time, or maybe a little bit earlier, or maybe even later. I can't remember now, because around the time I was sick for a while, I watched this really great documentary about Ren and Stimpy, and I never watched Ren and Stimpy as a kid. I wasn't allowed to. It was considered too rude, as many parents felt that way. But it's fascinating just learning all about the backstory and what went into that show and how much the creator was kind of a creep, but he also really loved his art. It's a really fascinating story, yeah.
Yeah, I really like the art style, and I feel like it was never really emulated beyond that cartoon. Or maybe in the other sort of I think there was a few more that was sort of like that style, but it never really took off in a category or genre of that sort of time.
Yeah.
It's very I mean, SpongeBob sort of did a little bit of it.
That was my go-to SpongeBob. They do the weird close-ups and stuff like that, or the weird faces of death, where they're all horrible to look at. Yeah,
they're really nicely painted and all that. Yeah. Do you know what Ren and Stimpy are? It's the animals.
It's a Chihuahua and a cat.
Yeah, they don't look like that though.
Yeah, it's such
a rabbit and a hamster.
Yeah, I was I don't know what this is. As a kid, I had no idea. But it's crazy. Some of the stuff they got away with. I mean, again, I haven't watched the show. I've never watched the show, but in the documentaries, some of the jokes they were talking about, and there's some guy who was a dad or whatever, and he was I can't remember what it was. He was really abusive. He was yelling at the dog all the time and smacking it, and yeah, so strange. But a really good documentary. If anyone who is interested in watching, it's called Happy Happy Joy Joy, and it's well worth your time. Again, I'd never even seen the show, and I was enthralled.
Nice.
But that was the last time. This week we're going to jump into the 80s. Now, I say you were born in the 80s. You're born the same year as me, so we really only just scraped the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
But do you have much of a connection to that decade? Yes? Yeah, straight away, yes.
Yeah. No, I grew up watching a lot of 80s movies with my dad. I think watching a lot of the sci-fi movies and all the other sort of movies we watched sort of built sort of my creative DNA. I got exposed to a lot of cool sort of creatures and sci-fi movies and monsters from an early age.
It really was a decade of robots and monsters. They really stepped up in the 80s, but they really took it to that next level. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of so I was reading just before we started, how there was a lot of horror comedies back then and a lot of family sci-fi, which was I reckon it was, besides late 80s, early 90s, just you could get any type of movie, watch any type of movie would be made.
Yeah, it's come up a few times on the show so far. Horror comedies is a big one, especially for Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they're not even horror comedies, but Freddy became so much more than just he became such this big personality where he's started to be joking with the people he was killing and stuff like that. And obviously family sci-fi, I think people these days think of Stranger Things, but that's just a shout out to like E.T. and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like Steven Spielberg was a pretty big part of my childhood. So, and I definitely think that built a lot of my fascination to my interests now and my preference in movies. So, like watching with my dad all these sort of old movies is like my strongest connection to the 80s. Besides music.
I was going to say that's nothing that's come up on every episode is the music. Like I think the 80s more than any other decade has such a definitive sound when it comes to the music. Like obviously there's all that like kind of bubblegum electric pop stuff that you and I were never really into. But it also is the rise of heavy metal. Like that's when you get, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, all that sort of stuff.
Yes, and all that, yeah. No, I think it was just a great era. I'm upset that we didn't get to live in it, even though we're at the end technically.
I mean, look, I'm disappointed we missed out, but also if I grew up in the 80s, I'd be even older than I am. And I'm currently like sitting in bed, at 8:30 at night, wearing my glasses, taking vitamin D tablets. So I'm glad I'm not like any older than I currently am. Otherwise, I'd probably be struggling a lot more.
Yeah. No, just the content from the 80s.
It's so great. Like, there's so many solid movies and genres, and it just felt like in the 80s that was when they were like, "Hey, let's just try anything. Let's just try anything and see what happens with movies."
Yeah. I feel like now we're just grabbing everything from the 80s and seeing if we can repackage it. Really.
Yeah, there's that real sense of nostalgia as well. You're absolutely right. Like, I mean, again, Stranger Things is like the best example of it, but it's all over the place. Like, it's in music, like it is in movies and TV and stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Nice one. So we're going to do a couple of things today. We've got your list of films, which we'll talk through shortly. And I warned you before that I've been a bit weak in the 80s, so hopefully your list I'll be able to talk about the movies. And we're going to do our rapid fire, but I also believe you've brought something to the show for me this week.
Yes. I have a quiz because James has a crazy amount of knowledge when it comes to movies, and he has a crazy memory as well. He can quote stuff like instantly. I mean, like I feel like I'm the complete opposite. I can never remember anything. I'm not fast like with my witty jokes. It takes me ages. James is like fast with everything.
I mean, I was before I had a child. Like, now, like things have slowed down a bit. Like I was just telling you before, I had an amazing delivery yesterday. I had like 18 like Blu-rays arrive, which was exactly what I wanted for that day. And I was like, well, I'll put these away and I'll pick one to watch. And I put them away. I was like, I'm too tired to watch anything now. Too tired to even unwrap them. So we'll see how we go. But I do have a pretty good memory. Like that is true. Like I was just thinking before. I think I messaged you the other day. I was like, hey, do you remember how when we were kids we wanted to be in a rock band except all the members were gorillas? Like that was like it was an ape band or something. Like we just like. And I think I think the idea was we're going to dress up as apes. I was like, it's so dumb. Like,
that was the gimmick.
That was the gimmick, and like I just remember like weird stuff. Like I remember, it doesn't matter. But I remember also the weird stuff from high school. I'll just throw you a line every now and then. You're like, geez, I can't really remember that. So, point is, I do have a pretty good memory most of the time. So we'll see.
The movies I picked, I'm pretty sure you've seen them. So I've seen them. And like they're basically the description of the movies, and you just have to guess what the movie is.
Nice one. I'm down with this. So I'm going to get quizzed, which has never happened on the show before. Also, if I do get them all right, I think I'm going to redeem myself from the first episode of our 80s phase. So I really hope I get most of them right. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, I didn't even think your prize.
Oh, the prize is I get to don't have so much shame from the other week.
Yeah, there you
go. All right, quiz me, Quizmaster.
Oh, we're gonna go now.
Yeah, we can do it now, and then we'll jump into your list.
Yeah. All right. New kid in town learns martial arts and life lessons from an honored war vet and uses his knowledge to defeat bullies in a tournament.
Oh, that's Karate Kid.
Yes.
Which is great because I still haven't seen it since the episode I talked about it, but at least I can answer the question.
All right, I'll mark that down. An ex-con and his brother go on a mission from God to reunite their old...
That's Blues Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a movie that, like, I don't even remember this, but ever since I was in primary school, I always tried to get all my friends to watch Blues Brothers, and like, that's an old movie. Like, no one wanted to watch it. I was the weird Blues Brothers kid in school.
An archaeology teacher goes on an adventure to save a religious relic from falling into Nazi hands.
That's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can't call it Indiana Jones because it wasn't called Indiana Jones until the second movie.
Yeah, I was actually looking this up because I was like, why is it just called the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yep.
And I was like, why isn't it called Indiana Jones? And then, it's just not because of Indiana.
Also, chronologically, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the second film, and Temple of Doom is actually the first one.
Ooh, James spinning out some knowledge.
But I'm a real Indiana Jones snob. We haven't really talked about that movie on the show yet. But I don't really care for any of the sequels, except I only like the first one.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie.
Like, I like Short Round, even though I don't like the way he's treated in the second one. But like his Indy's girlfriend in the second one just screams the entire time. It's quite distracting. Even though there's a cult in it, that's very cool. I don't really care about, like, if people love the Sean Connery one, I don't really. It's not for me. I don't think they're bad movies. It's just not for me. And then Crystal Skull, I haven't seen since it came out in cinemas. So I should give it a second chance. Every movie gets a second chance, but I haven't gone back to it.
Yeah, I think, like, from what I remember, it's like the same formula. It's just like I've sort of seen it, sort of type of feeling.
Yeah. Well, there's a new one coming out. They're working on that one, so hopefully that one's good.
Is it like a new lead actor?
No, still Harrison Ford.
Oh, cool.
And I think it's been directed by James Mangold, who did Logan. So I'm actually kind of keen to see it. Alrighty, what's next on your quiz?
A child's wish to grow up is granted, and he ends up as vice president of a toy company, but soon longs to return to childhood.
That's Big.
Yes.
Really weird movie, Big. I haven't seen it in a long time, but basically it's a story about a boy who pretends to be a man, and an adult woman has a relationship with him, and everyone's okay with it.
Yeah. All right. A man hears voices and plows under his cornfield to build a baseball diamond.
Oh, that's Field of Dreams.
Yes, which is a great movie as well.
I no, that's one I haven't watched as well, but not because any other reasons. I know it's a big crier. Like, it's a really big cry film for guys, and I just think it's going to destroy me. So I've been saving it for a rainy day.
A dead couple hires a bioexorcist to remove the living from their home.
That's Beetlejuice.
Yeah. I was like trying to edit these to be like more like sort of like sneaky, but it's sort of hard when the plots are just like so like ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, how can I make that sound not like Beetlejuice? And
you're like in brackets, and it's not Beetlejuice. Like, oh.
I was like, I can remove the dead part, and that would make it harder, but you'd still guess it. All right, this one's a hard one. An ex-police officer is recommissioned to hunt down cyborg replicants, but falls in love with one during the process. And
that is Blade Runner.
Yeah. That one's a bit long, gives you a bit too much, I reckon.
What's sorry?
The description gives you a little bit too much, but I feel like
once you mentioned cyborgs, well, that's Blade Runner. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. A doctor learns of a burial ground which brings the dead back to life.
A doctor learns of a burial ground that brings the dead back to life. A doctor learns of a burial ground.
Emphasis on burial ground.
Sorry?
Emphasis on burial ground.
Is it Poltergeist?
No, it's Pet Sematary.
Ah, of course. I haven't seen Pet Sematary.
That one's really vague. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Yeah, because I know that in Poltergeist is an ancient Indian burial ground, or I guess they'd call it an ancient Native American burial ground now. Yeah. Pet Sematary I haven't seen, but I've got it on my Blu-ray shelf. It's on my list of things to watch.
Yeah, that's the first horror movie I saw. Way too young, it scarred me.
Well, I bought it before Zoe was born, and then after Zoe was born, I found out it's all about a dead kid. I'm like, oh my god!
It haunted my dreams.
Yeah. Okay, so one wrong. I'll take that.
An inventor loses kids in the backyard.
Oh, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes.
I thought
that one was pretty sneaky, but you got it.
Yeah, that is a good one. I had to think for a second.
Yeah. That's a good movie too. I love that.
Rick Moranis is so good.
Yeah. All right. 4 men use science to save New York City from the paranormal.
That's Ghostbusters.
Yes.
We talked about that one last week.
Yes.
We might talk about it tonight. I don't know.
No. A private detective has to help a cartoon character clear his name after he's been accused of murder.
That's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
Great movie. Some really good movies on this list of questions.
Yeah. I made sure, like, because there was like way more on this quiz, and I made sure, my references, and made sure to grab the best ones. A New York cop finds himself in a high-rise office building taken over by terrorists at Christmas.
That is Die Hard.
Yeah.
What a great movie. I haven't watched Die Hard in so long. It's definitely due for a rewatch. But Tina refuses to watch it at Christmas time because she doesn't think it's a Christmas movie, and she's wrong.
If it has Christmas in it, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, every Harry Potter film, Christmas movie.
Oh, talking of Christmas movies, this is a tangent, but I watched that one with Mel Gibson in it, that weird Santa one.
Oh, Fat Man?
Yeah.
How is that?
Was weird. It was good and weird. Yeah, I thought it was cool.
I haven't seen any of that. I did watch a Mel Gibson film in the last year or so, like, because he's been back for a while. He's been doing more things, and I watched Dragged Across Concrete, which he's in, which is a really dark movie, but it was good, isn't it?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's not like amazing, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Alrighty.
After getting an unusual little creature as a pet, a young man has to deal with the army of monsters it accidentally spawns.
That's Gremlins.
Yes.
Another Christmas film, and a very dark Christmas film.
Yeah. A diverse group of high school kids comes into school on the weekend to serve detention. And
that is the Breakfast Club.
yeah, it's pretty easy. All right. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a nomadic loner helps a small community of survivors fight a savage gang of bandits.
That's Mad Max, or maybe is it the Road Warrior?
No, you got it, Mad Max.
Yeah, cool.
The Road Warrior, yeah.
Because the first one, that's not what he does. The first one is just him getting revenge. So yeah, I thought it was the Road Warrior. Cool. I'm glad I clarified.
Oh yeah, maybe an extra point for James for that one. An alien lost on Earth befriends a young boy who must help the creature avoid the government and return home.
That is Stranger Things Part 1, also known as E.T.
Yes. All right. I know this movie, I'm not sure you will. But
okay.
Millionaire brothers make a bet that they can ruin one of their yuppie employees and replace him with a street hustler they train to do his job in a nature versus nurture experiment.
Can you say it again for me, please?
Millionaire brothers make a bet that they can ruin one of their yuppie employees and replace him with a street hustler they train to do his job in a nature versus nurture experiment.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark because I'm not sure, but is it Trading Places?
Yes.
Yes, nice.
Which is a really good movie, by the way. And I'm pretty sure it's Eddie Murphy and what's his face?
It's the guy from Coming to America, isn't it? Is it the same guy?
Yeah. Eddie Murphy and the Ghostbusters guy.
I don't think it's the Ghostbusters guy. I'll look it up. Oh no! Oh yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Sorry, yeah,
Dan Aykroyd. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm so glad. That's what I was like. I think it's Trading Places, but I wasn't sure. Excellent. I'm glad I got that one right.
This one's a super hard one for you. Teens at a summer camp on the lake are stalked by a masked killer.
Oh, I don't know that one. That'd be Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
My favorite horror franchise.
Yeah.
I wonder if it still is. I'd have to give that another. Well, probably still is.
Yeah. I mean, like, you'd have so many beloved favorites. It'd be hard to pinpoint like your most beloved.
Well, yeah, I was talking about this with Sarah last week because I love Friday the 13th. That was my first like horror franchise, and I like the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but I feel like those ones are a bit more hit and miss. Like at least the Jason ones, even the bad ones, are still fun. But I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween are the two most consistent. So yeah,
Yeah. What about Jason X?
I love Jason X.
That's when I was like, this is ridiculous, and I think everyone knows that this is ridiculous.
Like the thing I love about Jason X is that about 3/4 of the way through the film, when he's like stalking like the people, whatever, they run a simulator on the spaceship, and it builds like an artificial Camp Crystal Lake, and he gets confused.
Yeah.
But then he still ends up killing them all. So I like that. Like, why not? The only Jason film I don't really like is Jason Goes to Hell, in which Jason isn't in the movie at all. Like it's just like his spirit possessing people, which is not what Jason does.
No,
Um,
it was off
so,
brand.
so that was a little bit boring, but all the other ones I like.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Nice. All right. A special forces team on a secret mission in a Central American jungle is stalked by an alien hunter.
Predator.
Yes.
Nice one.
I feel like I was like trying to figure out words to be. I was like, can I remove alien and just leave hunter and would he get it? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the alien gives it away.
I think I had it figured out. Once you said Central America, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Predator.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. Really good movie.
Yeah. A city kid rebels against the powers that be in a small town that forbids dancing.
Oh, Footloose?
Yes.
Yeah, I was because there's a couple of dancing movies. So there's Footloose, there's Dirty Dancing, and there's another one, Flashdance. So I was like, it's one of those ones. But you said kid, I was like, I think that's a boy and it'll be Footloose. So okay, cool.
Yeah. What do you
Kevin
think of
Bacon.
that description? Because I thought that was pretty vague and
Yeah, that was a challenging one. I was like, it was one of three, and I just went with Footloose. That stars Kevin Bacon, who is also in Friday the 13th. So
nice. That's a little fun fact there. All right. A group of space marines join forces with the survivor of an extraterrestrial encounter to investigate a group of colonists that vanished on a distant planet.
say it again, just a bit slower.
A group of space marines join forces with the survivor of an extraterrestrial encounter to investigate a group of colonists that vanished on a distant planet.
I don't know, but I'm going to take a guess, and I don't think this is right, by the way. Just having a quick think before I make my final guess. I want to say Total Recall, but I don't think that's right.
No, but I totally forgot about the movie Total Recall, and that is one of my favorite. Oh, is that 80s?
I think it's 90s. It might be 90s Total Recall.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was Aliens.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah. How hard is that one? I was like, there's no way.
Well, I'll give you some inside dirt as well. Total Recall was 1990, so that wouldn't have counted.
Yeah.
I, for the longest time, have always said I don't like Aliens. I love Alien. Alien to me is a perfect movie. Haunted House in Space, love it. I saw Aliens when I was 18 or 19 years old, and I hated it. And I was like, why did they take all the fun out? Like, why did they take all the mystery out of it and all the suspense out of it? Now it's an action film, I don't care. Because I also didn't like action films at that age.
Yeah.
But I recently bought it because I'm like, you know what? It's been over 10 years. I've got to give this movie a second chance. So it makes sense I wouldn't know that one because I've seen it once and I tried to erase it from my mind because I really didn't enjoy it as a teenager. But I'm all about giving it a second chance because everyone's going on about how great it is. So it makes sense that I get that one wrong.
Yeah, I felt like that way about like the second Prometheus movie. Like I love Prometheus, and I didn't like the next one after it. Was that the one where they're on the planet and they're just making
with Danny McBride?
Yeah, I mean I liked a lot of it, but I just didn't like how they dealt with the creatures. I really liked the storyline from Prometheus and was hoping to really get more of that as the creatures developed.
Yeah, I went and saw Covenant in theaters, and I didn't mind it, but I preferred Prometheus as well, actually. But if I'm honest with you, like again, I probably only need to really watch the first Alien movie, and that's not a criticism of any of the other movies.
Yeah,
I just think one is so strong. Like, why did we need to go back? I suppose.
Yeah, I think I was reading up about it because I really like Prometheus, and every time I watch it, I was like, why didn't I just continue with this plotline? It sort of felt that people were like, where are the aliens? Where are all the,
Well, that was the thing, yeah. Like everyone,
and it's like, what the hell? I'm trying to like make a new franchise, and people just want, more xenomorphs. And I was like, yeah, no, give us different xenomorphs. I want to see something different than just like, the classic alien. Like, give us, the story of how it becomes xenomorph. Give me the early versions of it, which they did. But I didn't really like, Covenant because, like, I just felt like it was just an aliens movie.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, but yeah, also like, I mean, I didn't like all that flute stuff, which I know everyone goes to. I do like seeing the different stages of evolution of the xenomorphs.
Yeah.
But I still think the most effective form of the xenomorph is that first movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets better than that. Like they do, in the second one, it's like there's hundreds of them. And like in the third and fourth, they do different versions or whatever. But I just still think the classic, it's the monster in the dark. like there's that really great scene where they're in the air vents and like where is it? Like it's behind you, and
Yeah.
then like you can't find that. It's like that to me is perfect.
Yeah, it's more that like that prey versus hunter, sorry, prey versus predator sort of type scenario. You want to see the hero sort of use everything they can to escape that sort of situation, which makes it interesting.
Yeah. So I do. Yeah. So it makes sense. I wouldn't have got Aliens, but it's definitely on my list to rewatch. I threw down money for it. I'm like, I'm gonna give it. I'm really gonna take this serious and give it another chance because I think 18-year-old snobby me was probably a little bit being
Yeah.
a bit of a jerk.
That being said, I feel like even with music, sometimes I'm like a bit dismissive, like maybe 10 years ago, and I just want to go back to all the things I sort of snobbed and just be like, I want to watch this and see how I feel about it now.
But yeah, absolutely. But then I also like there are certain films where I think the sequel is much more highly regarded than necessary. So, for example, most people prefer Aliens to Alien. I don't. Most people prefer Terminator 2 to Terminator 1. I don't. Most people prefer Godfather 2 to Godfather 1, and I don't. Like, I prefer the first one of all those ones. And I'm sure people listening right now, like, you're an idiot, and that's fine.
No, I in most cases, to me, I feel like the first one is sort of like nicely made because it's like unbound, like with having to build on a world, it can just tell its story. Where
Like,
like sequels always need to like build on the existing world and try to make something better, but you still have to follow that same formula, so you can't be too different.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
just feel like it's a bit of a hard hustle.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's not the same world these days. Like now, sequels they're more about storytelling, so they build upon what was already there. Yeah, but previously it's more like we're just doing more of the same. So I do like, obviously the modern sequels are quite good, and that's not to say that Aliens isn't good, and that's not to say that Godfather 2 isn't good. Like Godfather 2 is great, and same with T2. Like T2 is a great film, but for me, I was like, there's 45 minutes of a kid crying in the desert. Like cut that out. We've got a good movie. Like that's the problem. Not a bad movie, just I got issues with it. How many more? Do we have a few more questions on the quiz?
We have three more. That's all right.
Nice.
A charismatic and mischievous teen skips school for the day with his girlfriend, uptight best friend.
That is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes. I actually thought this was a 90s movie, but it's actually an 80s movie.
Yeah, I was talking about this one last week as well. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it is good. A straight-laced cop nearing retirement is forced to partner with a loose cannon.
That's Lethal Weapon.
I was like, there's so many like triggering words in this sentence that just tells you what it is. Yeah.
But who knows how many questions you've asked start with a cop? Like
it's so much more like RoboCop and a few others that I had to take out because it's just like they mentioned the word cop and robot in the same
yeah,
sentence.
a cop who's a robot.
I'm just like, you'll get this without me finishing the sentence.
Speaking of RoboCop, though, what a fantastic film! Like RoboCop, I didn't see that for the first time until I was in my like mid to late 20s, and I was like, I can't believe this is a 30-year-old movie. It is so good, even with the stop motion in it. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. It's good. All right, last one. A filmmaker documents the reunion tour of an English heavy metal band.
This is Spinal Tap.
Yes.
That's what. So I missed two. I missed Aliens. What was the other one I missed?
You missed Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
That's not bad. I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people would have got most of those right as well. So I'm not gonna like walk around with my chest out and think that
I thought the Pet Cemetery was really like too like neutral. That could have been anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's fair. I haven't seen Pet Cemetery, and there's no mention of pets or cemeteries in it. So
I wouldn't have guessed that without the options there. I needed to hear, yeah.
Yeah, because
the Aliens one, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Which one?
The Aliens one.
That was a tough one, but that's okay. All good. That was good. I'm glad you brought a quiz to the show because as I said, I didn't really get a chance to be on the receiving end. Like I've done a couple of lists with people in the past, yourself included, but I've never been on the interview end or the quiz end. Oh, I suppose Nick interviewed me a little bit. He had some things he wanted to talk about on his episode. But no, that was good. I like that. I'll encourage all guests listening to do more of that. I like answering questions.
No, I remember like through COVID, you did it like a quiz series, and I'm terrible at remembering things and terrible at like movies outside my like bubble of knowledge. So
I did what I believe is notoriously known as the world's hardest pub quiz. Like,
yeah,
I made it so challenging.
yeah,
But I was just like, but the problem is because so many of it was really unfair to you and Beck because so many of the shows I was asking questions about are shows that Tina and Nick have seen 400,000 times. Like literally, The Office, they've watched back to back to back to back to back to back. So I had to like put tricky ones in there. And same with movies. Like Nick, I think probably consumes as much cinema as I do.
yeah. He's crazy, like on par with you in terms of like quotes, knowledge, and just
Mm.
remembering like weird stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah, so I had to make that quiz really challenging. But then, like, I did the same thing at work. Like, I did a Halloween quiz at work last year for my team,
yeah,
um, and they were, I was like, I deliberately made them more tricky because there's a horror fan in the team, and no one got more than 50%. Like, it was too difficult. So,
yeah.
um,
You can't cater to the one person, James.
yeah, the problem is like, but my thing was like, well, I don't like it because if I get everything right, I want to be challenged. I want to
Yeah.
like, so I just made the most. Yeah, so next time I do a quiz, I'll make it easier.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember where I shone in your quiz was the movie monsters. No one else sort of knew that sort of stuff.
yeah, you did really well there,
I was like,
and
yes. It was just good because no one else knew it. I was like, yes, take that. Everyone else who remembers The Simpsons, Harry Potter, and various other TV show quotes.
and then there was obviously there were two really tricky rounds. There was the Harley Quinn animated show round, which I don't think anyone would watch. But I was like, I'm doing this because if the answers are funny to you, you'll know to watch the show because it's great. Um, and then there was the Bob's Burgers one, which I thought you would do really well in. But you're like, I haven't watched Bob's
I,
Burgers in a little while.
no, I can't remember stuff. Like it just goes straight through me.
I love that show. That
Yeah,
movie is out on DVD soon, I think. I
yeah,
can't wait. I love Bob's Burgers.
yeah, so good.
Consistent. I would say the most consistent animated show of all the animated shows. Like, even like I don't think it has a bad season. I mean, I haven't gone back and watched them in a while, but like
Like,
Simpsons notoriously has some seasons that are a little bit
yeah,
downhill. Family Guy, obviously. Even South Park has some weaker seasons.
yeah.
Um,
I feel like Bob's Burgers is able to be funny without, attacking like, without, like without being prejudiced,
it's not
without
mean spirited. It's
yeah,
just
yeah, without attacking or taking on like social issues as well. And if it does take on a social issue, it like throws it back on the characters a lot.
I think it's really honest, and I think it really they take their time to make sure that every family member is a character,
Yes.
which sounds you know it sounds like obvious, but like if you think about The Simpsons, like I love The Simpsons, but if there's a Marge episode or a Lisa episode, I'm probably less interested, and that's not because I don't like girl characters. It's because I just don't think that they're very interesting to watch. Whereas I'll watch an entire Linda Belcher episode. Like, give me all of Linda,
Yeah. I think
all
yeah,
Louise, who I've said to Tina like from day one. I'm like, I hope our daughter grows up to like Louise from Bob's Burgers,
yeah.
because
I
that's
think
amazing.
the secret sauce is that every character in Bob's Burgers has like like the negative flaws and their quirks.
Yeah,
It's more interesting to watch all of them deal with their flaws and the quirks. But we're like, if you get like a Bart episode or like a Homer episode, obviously they're going to go through the most growth because they got the most flaws they have to deal with. But you get a Marge or a Lisa episode, and you're like, they're sort of like they go through the thing, but it's very like flat and it's very like, like they're usually the ones who are telling like the other flawed people to do better.
mm.
It's just not an interesting ride.
And those characters are flawed, but they're the kind of flaws where it's kind of like, do we want to tell the 9-year-old girl to loosen up? Like it's kind of like
Yeah,
it's
it's not
tough.
much of a journey, is it?
Yeah. Whereas Bob's, yeah, like I don't know, I've probably told you this before. But Tina is adamant that she and I are Bob and Linda. She's like, if there's a character that we're most like, it's those
Yes,
two.
yes, yeah, yeah. I can definitely see Tina as Linda.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Alrighty. We've been talking too much about TV shows again. I just told my sister off
Yes,
last week. No more TV
yeah,
shows. This is a movie
yeah,
show. You have your list of
yes.
5 films. Did you bring honorable mentions, or is it just top 5?
I got honorable mentions, and I like. Yeah.
There's a
I don't
lot.
know if you
Yeah.
want me to talk about them now or afterwards, or
No, I'll talk about them afterwards because I remember. I think you messaged me that like I'm up to 20, and Nick was the same. Nick messaged me because he's going to do it soon as well. He's like, I'm up to 20. Um, Alrighty. Are you doing them are you ranking them, or is it just 5 random movies?
I'm going to say it's loosely ranked.
Yeah,
Just
you don't have to.
yeah, but these are all like these are all cult classics. But I'll start with Predator. So,
Great movie.
yes, I think because I was looking all these up before we started, and I sort of look at what the critics say, and then how like they've sort of traveled time. And the thing with all the movies I picked, there's always people like these movies suck. Nothing. This is a terrible movie. But then like they become cult classics. So you obviously look and you're like, well, these reviewers have said this movie sucks, but people actually love them. So like, what's it about this movie that makes people love them? And people are like, Predator has no plot, but like it's like a pure adrenaline movie of just like man versus predator, like man versus hunter, I guess, prey versus predator sort of type of thing. As the movie suggests. Has strong visuals.
It's got a plot. It absolutely has a plot. Like they land in the middle of the jungle.
Simple. It's just there's no sort of like deep thing to it. It's sort of like
but like not everything has to. Like I'm not saying that you're saying it, but like because people are like, oh, it's got no plot. Like that's fine. Like look at Mad Max Fury Road. Like that is a film that people are obsessed with. And I loved it when I saw it in cinemas. But I said to my wife, "Oh, they just went somewhere and then went back again." But that was the story.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the story of Mad Max Fury Road. They went somewhere, they went back again.
Well,
which spoilers is also what Lord of the Rings is. They went somewhere, they went back again.
Well, it's the journey then, isn't it? It's the the journey that the people sort of take, and that's what makes it interesting. And I thought that was interesting about this movie because it's like it's a really good movie. Like there's like things in like if you make that sort of click sound, that's from Predator, and like that sort of first person sort of view with the sort of like that wobbing sound, the boom, and like the sort of thermal imagery. I
was waiting for the thermal view. Yeah, absolutely.
And like I think that's what makes like a movie special is like it's not just like good storytelling. It's like how you can have a sort of basic story and still do like a lot with the visuals to make it such a like it's more compelling as a story now with these with how you present your shots and how you present the story. It's not just the story itself. And it just made me realize that how Predator like is not like I just think it's like it's such a simple movie, but it's like so effective, and that really made me think.
Yeah, it really is, and Arnold Schwarzenegger cops a lot of flack for his acting, but he's totally on point in this movie. Like this is not a film that demands like Oscar-worthy performances, but like he's so charming and interesting to watch, and like you absolutely buy him as the hero. Carl Weathers is great. The flick is written by I can't remember if it's directed by off the top of my head Shane Black, who also wrote Lethal Weapon, and then directed Iron Man 3 as well. I think he might have written Die Hard. I'm not 100% sure there, but he's done a lot of those kind of movies. It's a really solid flick, really entertaining. It's a good like just Friday night movie. It's like I just want to kick back and watch something fun.
Yeah, good action movie, different sort of action movie. One memory I always have watching that movie is that how he outsmarts Predator by putting mud.
Yeah, I was wondering if the mud was going to come. Absolutely.
And then the drops of blood, and then you're waiting for the reveal of the mask at the end of the movie, and actually takes it off, and then that's the greatest bit. And then there's just like fire and the adrenaline and all that stuff. You sort of feel the adrenaline between the two, and I feel like that is like really encompassing of like that sort of like jungle hunt prey sort of vibe that obviously they nailed.
And do you prefer Predator with the mask on or with the mask off?
I like it with the mask on.
Me too.
But I do like the mask off, and I do like it when it comes off. Yeah, I mean, I like it when it's taken off for like effect. I just don't want him walking around without it on.
Yeah, I prefer the mask on. I wonder whether like the Blade 2 vampires are based on Predator because they got those weird like open mouths as well. Like,
you know what? I think a few episodes I was on ago and we talked to Del Toro and like what movies I liked. I forgot that he has a whole bunch that we never talked about. And Blade 2, even though it wasn't a great movie, he still made that one.
I think it was a great movie for its time, but I went back and watched Blade 2 and 3 recently. And in Blade 2, so like what was his son still pretty young in that one, the stunts are terrible. Like he literally like jumps off he runs to avoid a vampire, he runs against a brick wall and jumps off it. But he only jumps up like 2 bricks in the air. Like it's not a stunt. It's just like we could have revisited it. And everyone's in black leather. It's like the Matrix. Yeah.
That was good though.
The first one's incredible. I actually can't watch it. My DVD is so old. It doesn't play on my modern Blu-ray players, so I've got to upgrade and get the Blu-ray box set, which I've got on my wish list online. So I'll get that all sorted out.
It has such a campy feel.
Campy feel.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, like you just know, like it's just the visuals, and I just feel like it, it just, I don't know. I can just remember this is very distinct thing that sort of works. Yeah, it's like one of the vampire movies.
Yeah, I rewatched Trinity as well, which I loved when I was a kid. It came out when we worked in the video store together. I remember watching Blade Trinity over and over and over again. And I watched it last year, and I was like, "Oof!" It's like I forgot about that. But there's literally there are scenes. I was reading about this where apparently Wesley Snipes would just get so into such fights with the director that there were scenes where he was meant to be lying on top with his eyes open. And he refused to open his eyes, and so they had to CGI his eyes open. And I was like, "That's amazing! That's my favorite piece of trivia ever." Wesley Snipes was like, "You know what? No, I'm not going to open my eyes for this scene. Use your computers."
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's genius.
I don't remember what we were talking about.
We were talking about Predator.
Yeah.
And I was doing the Predator face, and that became Blade 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Predator, really, really fun. Really great action film.
Yeah.
Easily the best of the series. I haven't seen the latest one from a few years ago.
I really like Predators.
Underrated flick.
I thought that I didn't like the Predator 2. I didn't like I think it was in the city.
Yeah, I wanted to really like it, and there's a cult and stuff involved as well. It's just a bit. It's not a bad movie. It just the urban jungle isn't quite as good as the actual jungle. No, I think for this year.
Yeah. I think Predators takes it back to the jungle, and I just think it's just really good.
I think Predators is on the Predator planet or on a different planet, and you got Adrian Brody doing an action hero voice and stuff. It's really there's some really fun stuff. I think Robert Rodriguez was involved. I don't know if he directed it or he just produced it, but you got Jenny Trejo. Yeah, Predators is super underrated, really enjoyable. But the first one is.
Yeah, I haven't seen that latest one, but there's a new one coming out called Prey, I think it is. And it's
is that what that is?
Yeah, it doesn't you got to watch the trailer, man, because it doesn't look like that at the start. I'm pretty sure it's called Prey.
Because I've been seeing stuff for that, but I haven't watched any of the trailer shifts.
Awesome. It sort of looks awesome because it's not what you think.
Oh, it's totally Predator. I can see an image. The image of the armor is oh, that's cool.
When you watch the trailer, you don't know it's Predator until halfway through.
Oh, that's cool. I'll definitely give that a spin. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. Nice one. So Predator. That is a strong start to your list. What do you got next for me?
Gremlins.
What a movie.
This is I know it's not Steven Spielberg didn't make this, but he presented it, or was an executive producer, and Steven Spielberg was I was a huge Steven Spielberg sort of movie fan growing up, I guess, and this sort of feels on par with that sort of time period.
It's such a weird movie. I really like it. First of all, it's got Phoebe Cates in it, who is maybe the most beautiful 1980s starlet of the decade. She's fantastic. Every guy who knows Phoebe Cates knows Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If you don't, I'll let you guys figure that one out for yourself. What's really unusual about this movie is it's directed by Joe Dante, who directed The Howling, which is an R-rated werewolf movie full of violence and sex. And the violent werewolf sex movie guy? Kids movie for Christmas, go. It's such a weird choice. And it's really dark. There's a whole scene where they're talking about how her dad committed suicide on Christmas or something. It's really strange.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was reading through sort of fun facts. They put the Gremlins put the dog in the microwave, don't they?
I think so.
Apparently, people took their kids to that movie thinking it was a kids' movie.
Well, I know in the UK it changed. They had to change the rating because in the UK they had a 12 and they had an 18.
Yeah.
And then they had to introduce the 15. And I think America they had to introduce the PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's really shocking, not shocking, but surprising, I suppose, is they only made one sequel, and I haven't seen part two. And I've heard like
Part two's fun, yeah.
okay. Because I've heard mixed things on
I
it.
mean, it's not as good as the original, and I've heard they're remaking a new one for this age, which I don't think is really going to fly.
I mean, yeah, but also like, why? I'm surprised they haven't. Like, I'm surprised it's taken 30 years to get another Gremlins film. Like, we've had like 20 Chucky films, and all. Yeah, I think it's a concept that could work.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a cult classic. Like, I've always wanted like a, um,
Gizmo.
yeah, a Furby version of Gizmo.
They must have some of that out there
They must have
somewhere.
something like that, yeah. But I really dug like the rules and how like the little things spawned, from the water, and then like they ate after midnight, and then like become monsters, and like yeah, I think it's just really fun.
It is really fun, but it's also like it falls. And
Yeah,
I was talking about Ghostbusters last week with my sister, and she was saying, I liked it, but as a kid, I found it really scary. I was like, yeah, because Ghostbusters is a horror movie. Like people think of it as a comedy, and it is, but when it's scary, and that's the same with Gremlins. Like they really nailed horror comedy back in the 80s. Like if it was meant to be a horror film, those horror elements worked, and then when it's meant to be funny, it's funny. American Werewolf in London is another one. Whereas these days they kind of don't get it quite as right. They're like, it's meant to be a funny. It's meant to have a monster and it's funny. The only exception I would say is maybe Cabin in the Woods, which I think really walks that line well, where it is funny, but when it's scary, it is scary.
yeah. I think the 80s were the height of like those. They started that. I was reading they started to do like comedy horrors and sort of stuff. So it was like very prominent to have like these sort of funny, scary movies. Which have a bit of everything in it.
But Gremlins absolutely does not shock me. It's on your list because I know how much you like monsters. So I think in your first list, I was like, you like monsters and you like robots. So Gremlins absolutely makes sense. It's on your list, but it's a great movie.
Yeah, yeah. All right, my next one is Ghostbusters.
Yes.
I know you've talked about this already, so we can sort of move past it.
No, we can talk about it. What is it about Ghostbusters you like so much? I mean, I'm guessing the ghosts.
Just the hunting down, ghosts, the whole sort of, the jumpsuits, the warehouse of, the old sort of abandoned firehouse, the whole sort of idea behind it, how it sort of goes dark. So the one thing I like about 80s is they everyone complained about how dark things were, but I feel like they got the right tone of like eerie dark right in the 80s.
They really did. I mean, first of all,
Like
80s.
fun dark. Sorry, I should say fun eerie dark, not just dark.
But there is dark as well. But like, I mean, first of all, 80s New York is just an incredible character in its own. Like, it just looks so interesting. But yeah, they really did. They do things in those movies that they would never dare to do today. And that's not that some directors wouldn't do it, but a lot of mainstream films tend to avoid the darkness. But I've said on this before, like there's a really common thread of teen pregnancies and abortions in 80 movies. Not sure why, but like it was a staple of 80s like teen sex comedies. It's like in those movies, one teenager is going to get pregnant and then she's going to have an abortion. And they don't really do that in movies anymore. Like you don't really see like the teenage abortion film anymore.
No.
But you're talking. I'm just using that as an example. But that's something that's quite dark and quite I guess more unusual subject matter. It's the same with Ghostbusters and Gremlins and stuff, where there's just some really frank discussions about scary, dark themes, like conversations about death and picturing death and stuff in a family movie.
Yeah. I really like the sort of gatekeeper stuff in Ghostbusters as well. Like
Zool? Is that there is no
yeah, that whole like weird thing that like and the gargoyles and all that, and the door that sort of opens up. I really like that sort of 80s CG, like the styling of that. I really sort of dug that sort of style of sci-fi CG stuff.
And are you a fan of Stay Puft, or are you just kind of like, he's just a toy?
Sorry, what?
Stay Puft, the Marshmallow Man?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool I think it's cool because it sort of like hits that sort of horror comedy note where it's like it's eerie, scary, but it's still sort of funny at the same time. I think that's sort of like what Ghostbusters is. It's like this scary but funny sort of experience.
It is such an unlikely monster. It's like, oh, it's a giant marshmallow man that's going to kill us all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
and-
think Ghostbusters is like a fun ride. It feels like,
yeah.
you're just like, you're with them, like they, going out to do missions, shooting the lasers. Like it's got a lot of iconic stuff too.
And Bill Murray is such like a wonderful smartass. Like he runs that, like he has that TV show where it's like, could it be true or whatever? And he's like getting like skeptics and like crazy people on and like trying to get them to combat each other.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know how people feel about the sequel, but I like the sequel of Ghostbusters.
I do like two, not as much as one.
No.
I mean, it's basically the same movie. Like it even ends with isn't it just the Statue of Liberty instead of Stay Puft, Marshmallow
Yeah.
Man? Like I don't.
That's
Yeah,
that sequel thing I was talking about. It's like you sort of have to do the same formula of what made the first one great, but it's sort of different. I did like the goo. I thought the goo was cool.
but yeah, I do like to. I haven't seen the newest one, Afterlife. I've got it on Blu-ray. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm really excited to watch that one. It looks sort of fun.
Yeah.
And I've seen the one from 2016, which was the Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, which is fine. I don't think it's a terrible film. Like a lot of people are like, oh, this sucks. It's the worst we ever watched. Do that. I don't think so. I just think it's
different.
It's not even that. I just kind of like. I mean this, and I know we're always very positive on this show. This is going to sound like a horrible thing to say, but I mean it in the nicest way possible. It's just unremarkable. Like it's instantly forgettable to me. Like not a bad movie, but I've already seen this movie, so therefore, like I'll just go watch the one that I enjoy more. Has nothing to do with the gender of the actors. Has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of felt it was fine to me. That's what it was.
For me, I didn't like the writing, and I didn't like how it wasn't as dark as the originals because I was really expecting something on par with what the originals were, and they were like much darker movies. And just the writing was a bit stupid. I just thought, I mean, like not the characters. I thought the characters and what they said was great. I just didn't think the villain was great. I didn't think the plot was great. I just wanted more. I wanted what they had, just like with something better.
Yeah, well, I remember years ago on a podcast I used to do called Shouldcast with my friend Tom. We actually came up with an idea for a Ghostbusters sequel. This is before the Melissa McCarthy one, obviously before Afterlife. And I was like, and this is my idea. I said, here's how you sequelize Ghostbusters. You don't do it, but if you do it, this is what you do. You set it in England. You get Edgar Wright to direct it, director of Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead. He directs the sequel. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they're your main characters. So you get those guys back in. And what it is that they live in the same world as the Ghostbusters. And when they were children in the 80s, they saw on TV all the events in New York and became obsessed with the paranormal. And now as adults, they have their own paranormal branch of Ghostbusters or whatever. But like until this movie, they've never really had much success. But it's the UK, which has a rich history of like monsters and demons and ghosts and everything. So they do go on a wild chase. You get a couple of other people from those movies as their sidekicks. You throw in Rosamund Pike, so you've got your female lead. Benedict Cumberbatch is the voice of your monster. Bing, bang, boom, you're done. Like, that's the way you do it.
A way to set up a new generation and new branding without having to tread on the old one or live in the other one's shadow.
And then what you do, because Edgar Wright does a really good balance of comedy and horror as well. He's actually someone else who does that. And then what you do is you get one of the original cast members and they Skype in. So they don't have to be on set or whatever, but like like your new Ghostbusters, your Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they reach out to the original Ghostbusters, they get in touch with one and they get advice on how to do it or whatever. Like that's how you get your cameo in. So that's what I pitched like 10 years ago. Yeah. That's the way you do it. And I think that would be a fun sequel. But
I really want a new Nick Frost and Simon Pegg trilogy.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see it. Like they seem to be doing their own things now. Like Simon Pegg's doing all sorts of stuff and Nick Frost is doing like wrestling movies, and I don't know if you've seen Nick Frost recently. He's like got a shaved head. He's all tatted out. He's like constantly cooking steaks. But I'd love to see them again together. His performance in Hot Fuzz, Nick Frost, is one of my favorite performances of all time. It's such a like charming, beautiful performance of a.
Yeah, I just love the Shaun the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and
World's End.
World's End sort of movies.
World's End is hugely underrated. Such a great flick.
Yeah, we watched that I think like earlier this year. And it's not as good as the other two, but it's definitely as funny in its own way.
I will I always go controversial, obviously. I go Hot Fuzz, World's End, and Shaun of the Dead last.
Oh, really?
I like Shaun of the Dead a lot, but Shaun of the Dead is the first step. Like that's the movie where I mean, obviously Edgar Wright had a TV career before that. He did like a bunch of different stuff, but
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead is him learning. Him learning, and then Hot Fuzz is him perfecting it. The Hot Fuzz is a perfect film to me. And then World's End is kind of like, well, now we're taking some of the sci-fi horror elements that Shaun of the Dead, we're mashing it up with Hot Fuzz, and we have World's End, which is just really fun. But that's just me. Like I know that everyone else is like, no, James, you're wrong, and that's fine. Nice one. Ghostbusters, great pick. So we got Predator, we got Gremlins, and now we're on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
What is your number 2 pick from the 80s?
Beetlejuice.
Nice one. So I did mention earlier, I haven't seen it, but I was talking about it last week with Sarah as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about Beetlejuice. This doesn't surprise me at all, by the
All
way.
right. So I mean, it's got that 80s feel to it. Of course, it's got that eerie, dark comedy vibe again, which I like about the 80s. I really like 80s CG as well, like the claymation, stop motion type CG effects. I really love that. I reckon it's like the whole style of it's like its own thing.
I agree. I was just saying, RoboCop, stop motion. Great.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I love 80s CG. I think they're great. Yeah, Beetlejuice was like one of them standout things where it's like that Tim Burton style really sort of come through then. I The plot of Beetlejuice is a bit weird, and it's sort of like I sort of feel like it starts strong and sort of doesn't peak as much as it should, but then it ends sort of cool. So like ends up being sort of fun. I really like all the actors in it. I like the sort of the visuals and stuff. I think Beck said she hadn't seen it properly, so we rewatched it this year properly. And we sort of like sitting there, and Beck's like, "What's up with Beetlejuice?" Like we sort of agreed that he's kind of rapey. Like,
Yeah. I wondered that. Because he's a creep. Does he have like porno theaters and stuff?
I
Like,
don't know. He's just really like it's like crude, not in a way that's aged greatly. So I'm going to be interested what they see, like what they do with Beetlejuice too.
they're making that. They were originally making Beetlejuice 2 in the 90s.
Yeah.
They were going to do Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. That was
Yes.
the sequel, yeah. Because Kevin Smith was approached to write the script. And he's like, didn't we say everything we needed to say in Beetlejuice 1? Like,
Yeah. I mean, the visuals are really great. I like the idea behind it. So, like, do you want to know the plot?
so Sarah was telling me last week where basically this couple moves into a house, whatever, then they die, and then a new couple moves in and they summon Beetlejuice to get the new couple out of their house so they can live there. Is that kind?
Yeah. But
But
he ends
then,
up.
but the teenage daughter can see Beetlejuice or can see them or something.
Yeah. She sort of reads this manual that they sort of need to read, and by summoning him, they become to become better ghosts. They unleash him, and he just becomes like a bit of a terror.
Yeah.
And wants to marry the daughter, which is really weird.
It reminds me a little bit of, and I don't know if you know this one, a 90s film called Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah, I can vaguely remember.
Yeah, like Drop Dead Fred was an imaginary friend, and like only she could see him, but then he would like cause all sorts of problems around the house, and she would get in trouble, but like it was his fault. And I kind of feel like this. I mean, a tone or like maybe thematically similar a little bit, or maybe tonally a bit similar. Because I have seen, but I'm not sure. So
They have a cool thing where like they go to like the Department of like Death and Ghosts and stuff, and I really like the visuals in that. Like all the sort of characters and creatures there are really cool, and they're sort of like dealing with like the sort of laws and rules, and that's really interesting too to see like them ghosts sort of deal with that. I definitely hope they explore the world more in Beetlejuice too.
are they bringing Keaton back?
I mean, like Beetlejuice is pretty much the soul of Beetlejuice. So I'd feel like it'd be dumb to pursue it without Keaton.
I mean, he's getting a hell of a comeback. Like he's Batman again, and
he's unstoppable, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
No bad performances. I can't think of a single Michael Keaton performance from like, hey, phones it in there. Like he's always on fire.
And even like that movie, is it like Duplicity or is it
Multiplicity. Where is it?
Multiplicity? Yeah.
Is it like he duplicates himself? Or whatever?
Yeah, and it's like it reminds me of Futurama. You know how like the brothers is like one really dumb one. So I think the really dumb one ends up sleeping with his wife. So I think the copy makes a copy, and that one's like really stupid, and it does like a lot of dumb stuff. Yeah, that movie's like oddly fun.
That's got to be worth a watch. I mean, look, we talk about how weird the 80s are, but the 90s are pretty weird as well.
Yeah, 90s. I think early 90s off the back of the 80s has a lot of great movies too, which I'm excited to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely will get to them. Nice ones, and obviously Tim Burton, who you've mentioned in the past, kind of creator or wrote Nightmare Before Christmas and a bunch of other films we talked about as well. So it doesn't surprise me that the Beetlejuice is on here because I know you're a Tim Burton fan.
Yeah, I would say like in terms of like plot, like I feel like my list is like more like visual spectacle more than like great story plots and all that.
But that's what the 80s was. Like, I think about all my favorite 80s films, and it's not because like it told an endearing story of the human condition. It's like, check how cool it looks. Check out how, some of the comedies may be less visually interesting, but it's not about like plot almost had nothing to do with it in the 80s.
Yeah, it was like a fun ride. I just remember being a lot of like good, cool movies that were just entertaining. They weren't trying to like throw their politics at you, trying to like have like this crazy intense, plot, even though like I like thrillers and all that. Like I think the 80s was just like a fun ride of different genres.
It feels like they were just like, what can we get away with doing and saying, and let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. No, Beetlejuice is very, very cool. Which means we're at number one. What is your number one film of the 80s?
Back to the Future.
Yes. I noticed there's no 2 added to that, which is the exact right answer. Tina put Back to the Future 2 on her top 5 list, and I was very disappointed.
I do like Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 3 is okay, but I can never remember it properly.
I love 3. I think 3 is like, for me, it goes 1, 3, 2.
Yeah. I think they're all fun though in their own way, and I feel like if there's like a movie franchise like with perfect sequels, I think it'd definitely be Back to the Future.
It must be pretty close there, yeah. Like even though I like 2 the least, I have problems with it. Like it's still a really good movie. Back to the Future, I think, is the most talked about film on the show. I think everyone has mentioned Back to the Future at one point or another. It's such a strong film. Tell me about why you like Back to the Future.
I think firstly I watched it with my dad growing up, so that's like a good memory for me.
Me too. My dad introduced me to Back to the Future.
So I really liked what's his face, the actor.
Christopher Lloyd or Michael J. Fox?
Actually, both of them, yeah. Because Christopher Lloyd was in the Addams Family as Dr. Uncle Fester.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was great. I think I just like the actors, and also like the premise of the theme, and it's just like a really fun but really odd movie when you think of the plot, because like the mother was like, he accidentally like isn't like the mother becomes infatuated with him, but then he sort of has to make sure things happen. Yeah, I just think it's really cool. It's just a fun movie.
It's so fun. Like I talked about it in my top 5 favorite films of all time because it's up there. I think I put it at number 3 or number 2. I think it's number 3. It's just one of those films that I watch every year, like without fail. Like every year, like certain point, Tina and I look at each other. We're like, Back to the Future time. We're like, yeah, Back to the Future time. And we'll put it on. It's so watchable. We talk about movies holding up. Like that movie holds up like gold. I can't believe how well that movie works over 30 years on.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to like feel like some drop in quality or the age. Like the only thing I can say that his age, not great is the makeup on the old makeup on his parents, but it's not terrible. It's just not great. Like it's fine. But the visual effects are awesome. Like they were very clever by setting the first one in the 50s, so they didn't have to worry about futuristic technology or anything. That's where part 2 falls apart for me a little bit, where I'm just like, hi, 3D.
You don't like 80s future?
I do like 80s future. Well, I do and I don't. I don't like that Marty's mum had to get breast implants. Like, and I don't like the Biff got away with everything. I know that's part of the overall plot, but I've mentioned that in every time I'm like, I just don't like that future.
I feel like, especially in the 80s, whenever anyone depicts like the future, and this is sort of like in Altered Carbon as well, like cyberpunk stuff, it's like the future feels like really gross and neon. And that's like the depiction. And so like when in Back to the Future they're showing like the year 2000, They've got all these like weird shapes going on, like 80s future, and like everything's a little gross. It just feels like gross, for that time. But then like if you like see everyone's depiction of the future, it just feels like more gross than what it is now. And that's like that feeling, I think.
It's so weird, like, because it's not dystopian, like, because it's dystopian future, which is after everything. But you're right, like, if they've got books that no longer have dust, like, why is everything gross? Like, shouldn't we be, Doc's DeLorean runs on garbage at that point, so he's really like fuel conscious and like thinking about that. But like, yeah, why isn't the rest of the world a bit like that? Why are things still
Yeah.
gross?
I feel like future depictions always feel like gross.
I mean, we've mentioned a couple of times now, but RoboCop's another one that's set in the future, and like Detroit is looks awful. Like it's
yeah. I don't know, maybe just that feeling, or maybe it's the way that it's portrayed. It's never depicted as utopia. It's always depicted as a weird worse place where there's more freedoms, but more inequality and all that.
No, absolutely. It's such a perfect movie. Like, I feel like I throw the word perfect around too much describing films, but I think there are just a couple of some really, really good, like really, really strong ones out there that really are just basically perfect. I can't fault it. There's no part of that first movie I don't like. Like, it never gets boring for me. The opening, I'm late for school, and then like he's riding along to the Huey Lewis and the News music. It's got that great.
I really like that the car is the time machine as well, because I was reading up about it and how like they were thinking about what the time machine could be, and they're trying to like they were like the writers and the sort of like directors were tinkering with the idea of it being from a company and stuff, but they went with just a mad scientist who turned this car into like a time machine instead of like an actual object. And that's sort of cool because like you've got this big thing but you have to hide first of all, and then like they make the fuel the problem instead of losing the actual time machine or getting their hands to someone else itself, which I think is really cool. Like you got this sort of big thing that I have to deal with to get back to to their time, and there's certain problems they have to sort of deal with getting it up and running. I think like a car is a cool idea for that vessel.
It's and there's just great little details in there, like how when he goes to meet Doc at the start of the film, it's the Twin Pines Mall or whatever. But then when he goes back in time, he knocks one of the trees down. So when they get back, it's called the Lone Pines Mall. Like just really tiny little details like that. Which is very, very clever.
Also, it's weird that they actually they don't explain the relationship between Marty and the Doc. They just start it. So he meets up with his friend, the Doc, and it just happens.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's my friend. He's 60 years older than me. We're best friends. Like, okay.
I remember watching a John Mulaney show where he's just like, how bizarre is the pitch for Back to the Future? Where he's like, this kid who has like a doctor as a friend, just ends up in this car and travels back in time where he has to make sure that his mum and dad, get married.
Yeah.
To fall in love and stuff. It's just a bizarre thing to pitch.
That's a great bit where it's like okay, it's got a great title. What are you going to call it? Back to the Past? That'd be really good. What did you call it? Well, now I don't want to say.
That bit made me laugh so much because it's like it's spot on.
Yeah. That's a great list. That's a really good list.
Yeah, I mean they're pop culture sort of greats. They're strong movies. They're visually exciting. They're fun rides. But I think like there's a reason why, despite like all the criticisms like from movie critics and all that they've become like culture icons because like they have like these great moments in them. Great visuals. Things in them that like you remember a time machine car. You remember like a demon dressed in like a black and white suit. You remember like, people fighting ghosts with lasers. These things are, just iconic.
Well, what is really a common theme through all of your movies on your list is they're all fun. They're all fun. Like there's not like, even though there's some dark stuff in there, like they're all really entertaining. They're great popcorn movies. It's like if I put any one of these on, I'm in for a good time tonight. Like we're not trying to do anything too serious. It's just like, hey, watch some little monsters run around trying to microwave a dog, or we're going to watch ghosts tear up Manhattan. Or we're going to watch this, boy trying to have sex with his mum. Like, it's I think I lost the metaphor. But they're just really fun movies. That's a solid list. It's gonna be hard for them to top that. Like, that might be the best list I've come across. Like, whilst yes, they're all cult favorites and I guess like very quintessential 80s movies. Like, they all deserve to be on that list. Like, they're all great.
Yeah.
Nice one. So you've also got some honorable mentions, you said.
Yeah. There's a few obvious ones where it's like, yeah, these are obviously cult classics as well and fan favorites. But I was digging through because like there's a few movies that I was growing up and I was like, these are like awesome and I love these movies, but I just forgot about them. But they're not good enough to be my list because I don't remember them enough, and they didn't stay with me long enough. But they were like little memories. That I was like, I really like this movie. Growing up. So I'll start with the obvious ones: Alien, Star Wars.
Alien is 79.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say it now because I don't like aliens.
You don't like Aliens?
I mean, it's okay, but I'm like, if it's got to be the Alien movie, right?
Yeah. Alien doesn't quite cut it, unfortunately.
No, scratch that from the list.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, well, Star Wars.
The first Star Wars is 1977.
Oh fuck, a Star Wars movie.
I think Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Which is better. Like, it's a better film. That's 1980. You can have Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, thanks.
that's a great film. That is far better
that's
than the
good.
first
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
I just remember watching that, and it's just great. Mad Max.
I think Mad Max is 80s. That first one.
Just gonna sit there. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure.
Mad Max is 79.
Oh, damn it! All right, lucky they weren't on my list then, eh?
Yeah, that would be very. I'll be like, technical difficulties.
You gotta give it to me. 79. You're like, oh no, you can't have it because it's like 1979, which is like.
What if we do a section on the 70s later? I deliberately did do the 70s because, like, I don't know how many people will like have gone that far back, but
fine.
You can put it on your honorable mention. Doesn't matter. We break the rules all the time. Mad Max is a great movie.
The Thing.
Great movie.
It almost made my list as like my favorite horror movie from the 80s. You're gonna check it, but I just looked it up before I said it.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, no, it's all good. No, The Thing is fantastic.
Yeah. I just like, it was one of my it's just a weird movie. I watched it like as a kid one night, probably like teenager, just watching it, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. So there's another movie I always forget the name of, but I love horror movies in the snow. Like, I love sci-fi horror movies in the snow. I just think there's something about it that's really like wicked eerie about having to deal with like the snow, and then you got some sort of horror theme on top of that, which I think is really cool.
It's a great body horror film as well. Just like all the mutations and like transformations, like the weird spider dog thing, like with human flesh. It's so weird.
And they end up going crazy because they can't trust each other.
Yeah, that last shot of the film where it's like, is he Kurt Russell or is he the Thing?
E.T. So
E.T. of course.
Yeah, that was like awesome.
And are you talking about the one where all the people have guns, or is it when they've been CGI'd into radios or whatever? Like, because they changed that for the 90s re-release.
No, the original.
The guns.
Yeah.
That's what. I just want to go back to Mad Max for a second because I really like Mad Max. But Mad Max is a very short film, and the plot doesn't kick in until about an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it takes an hour to be like, his family's dead. Now he's Mad Max.
Now he's angry.
But that's a great flick. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Labyrinth is another.
Yeah. So I spoke about this on the last episode. I haven't seen Labyrinth, but it's on my list to watch. But David Bowie in tight pants stealing children.
Yeah. No, I think it's got that Alice in Wonderland feel without being Alice in Wonderland, which I think is a very hard thing to pull off. Because like you'd instantly go, well, that's Alice in Wonderland, but I feel like they did in such a way that feels like Alice in Wonderland without being Alice in Wonderland. You could be like, oh, that's Labyrinth, which I think is cool.
Yeah, nice one.
Never Ending Story.
Yes, Never Ending Story. What a flick.
Yes, I think that's really cool. It's oddly dark as well. All my favorite movies are like sort of like oddly dark in a way.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Like, knowing you growing up, like
Yeah,
Never Is, I haven't seen in ages, but I keep hearing it doesn't hold up, which is why I haven't gone back to it. So I barely remember it.
yeah.
But I'm worried that if I go back and watch it, I'm going to be really disappointed. So
Yeah, that's why I'm so scared to go back and watch some of these movies because like I have a good memory in my head of them. Like, that it was really cool. But if I go back and watch it, like I did with Beetlejuice, like back we'll just find flaws in the movie, and I'm like, wow, now I can't really like Beetlejuice anymore because he's kind of rapey.
yeah, I did that. So not last year, but the year before. After Zoe was born, I had a lot of free time in the evenings. I was up till 3 a.m. watching Zoe. Therefore, I could watch a lot of movies.
Yeah,
And I rewatched some stuff that I loved as a teenager. Like Animal House doesn't hold up for me anymore because there's a lot of rapey stuff in it.
yeah,
Stripes was another one, like this kind of classically 80s comedy, Bill Murray like kind of comedy, and it's just like, oh, like all the women in the film are cast just to be in bras the whole time. Like that's their only purpose in the movie.
yeah.
Like they don't just get to be clever or funny. It's just like, hey, we need these girls running around in bras or less. That's their role in the movie. Like it's tough. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So these two I loved growing up, but I haven't watched them in ages, and they would have made my list just because I have good memories of them. So Short Circuit.
Number 5 is Alive. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, and Batteries Are Included, which is
Yes. Yeah. I haven't seen it.
yeah,
I couldn't tell the last my story. It would have been almost 30 years ago.
I remember that movie and I could not find the name of it for ages because like I remember this movie and it's a really wholesome movie. It's about like these little tiny robots that help like people in this apartment. They're about to be evicted or something, that like it's going to be knocked down or something, and
Mm.
these robots just help them. Wholesome movie, and they're just like really cute and cool. And it's like that weird sort of family sci-fi thing I was talking about before. Like he's had like a lot of like weird sci-fi in just all genres.
It's it's really funny. Like I'm about to mention a movie which is nothing like Batteries Not Included, but for some reason just sparked a thought. She's like, oh, there's these little guys that help around the house. Do you remember? I want to say it was from the 90s, but it could be early 2000s. A movie called Small Soldiers.
Yes, I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah.
I know you do. I didn't even. I knew as soon as I said it because it's got toy monsters and they're the good guys, but they're misunderstood. I'm like, of course, Josh loves this movie.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was upset with the thing that spun around so much that I stole it, stole the idea to draw in my own sort of like story.
I haven't seen that movie in decades, but it's definitely one I want to go back to. I'm worried it won't hold up, but yeah, and the soldiers are the bad guys. Like they're
Yeah, yeah, that was the good part. That you thought the little army men were going to be like the good guys.
yeah, I haven't seen that flick in ages. But yeah, for some reason we talk about Batteries Not Included, even though they're nothing alike. I immediately
No,
thought of
no,
Small
I get it
Soldiers.
though. It's like that the little creatures in suburbia type thing. The plot for that's really funny though because it's like some guys accidentally stick military grade microchips into toys, and they're like, "Whoops!"
Yeah. Well, that's also the plot kind of Home Alone 3. I don't know if you ever saw Home Alone 3,
Oh yeah,
which is another underrated film. It's also one of the very first Scarlett Johansson films ever. Um, but yeah, like this woman like is coming back from the airport and her package gets swapped with like these terrorists, whatever. So instead of her jacket, she gets a remote control car with a microchip in it, and it's like a government missile chip. And then they have to, so instead of like burglars, it's like these Russian terrorists trying to break into a house to get their microchip back so they can shoot missiles. It's such a weird concept, but it is really entertaining.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I think
no,
yeah, that's like my highlight. There's probably a lot more Steven Spielberg movies that I haven't given a shout out to that I'd probably really that would
nice.
be in that list. But
No,
that's
those are some good
highlights.
ones. That's a great list and some great honorable mentions as well.
Yeah,
Definitely allowed for a lot of banter, a lot of conversation, which is good. Um, excellent. Well, Josh, the last time, well, not the last week here, but the first time you came on, we did a rapid fire round. We now have the 80s rapid fire round. So
bring it to me.
after you quizzed me, I have to quiz you.
Yes.
So the first question we ask in the 80s rapid fire round is which movie to you is the definitive 80s movie? More than anything else, if you think 80s, you think of this movie.
Oh shit.
We're not playing games this time, man. We're going all in.
Hang on, can I just? I'm gonna type in. I can't remember. Like I have bad memory, so I'm gonna quickly just type in 80s. It's gonna be. So I think it's gonna be Back to the Future, but
yeah, good answer.
Yeah, no, I think it's Back to the Future. I can't think of anything else in my mind that wouldn't. Yeah.
Nice one. Now, I'll be honest, this might be a clean sweep. You might answer the same movie for every question, I'm not sure. But we talked about music before, and the 80s introduced the idea of the movie soundtrack. Like previously, they didn't really use popular songs in movies.
Really?
So yeah, it was a thing in the 80s. I think maybe towards the end of the 70s, but definitely the 80s is when it really kicked up. Yeah. So which 80s film to you has either the best theme song or the best soundtrack? Or you can do both.
Oh.
You had a lot of good ones in your list. Like Ghostbusters has a great theme song.
Ghostbusters, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Nice one. That's your answer?
Willow's made in the 1980s as well.
Willow's coming back as well.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So Ghostbusters, that's a popular one. It's such a good theme song. Like
you just remember it. Yeah.
Okay, and then to you, which actor or actress defined the 80s? Which, like, if you think about 80s actors and actresses, who like was all over that decade? Because like that is an 80s actor or actress.
It would be Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, you could do Kevin Bacon. Why not? Like this is your answers, so.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't really follow actors really a lot. So I feel like was Tom Cruise prominent in the 80s?
I've been waiting for Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is absolutely all over the 80s. So like, no one's mentioned him so far.
I feel like if I think about the 80s, I feel like him in glasses and that haircut is like a picture.
Yeah, he had Risky Business, Cocktail, Top Gun.
Yeah,
I want to say The Outsiders might have been early 80s. He was in a bunch of stuff. So Tom Cruise is absolutely all there. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this one, but what's the best 80s vehicle or mode of transport?
Oh, DeLorean.
Everyone said DeLorean. Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't sure because I was like, maybe he'll say the Ghostbusters car. That's pretty cool. But that's really good. Last time you were on the show, when we were asking questions, I asked you which film should they never remake. What I want to know this time is which 80s film should they remake?
Oh. What have they not remade from the 80s?
There are heaps. I had some good suggestions already.
They remake The Dark Crystal.
So they did remake this. They did it as a TV show, didn't they? Dark Crystal.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's really anticlimactic, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know. Ready to go.
We had a couple of good suggestions. The first week, someone suggested Scarface, which I was like, yes, yeah, you can remake Scarface, easy. And then last week, Sarah said Breakfast Club, which I was like, that is controversial, but I absolutely agree. Breakfast Club is not so holy, it can't be remade.
So what was the question again?
Which 80s movie should they remake?
Should they remake?
Yeah.
All right. Oh. It's a hard one because it's like I feel like everything exists now. Because like I was like, what could they make that'd be worth remaking? Maybe I think about it too deeply.
Yeah, I mean, look, they might have remade it already, and you want to do another remake, you could do that.
Yeah, remake it again.
Yeah.
No, I think I wouldn't mind. Twins. I wouldn't. They remade The Thing, didn't they? They remade The Thing.
No, it was a prequel.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I actually really like it as well. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed it.
This really sucks. I can't give you an answer.
The Thing is also a remake as well. A lot of people don't know that, but it's a remake of a, I want to say a 30s film, maybe a 50s film.
Yeah. I'm thinking of something that's on the tip of my tongue. I'm not just looking up things to talk about. I don't know, because like they sort of remade everything that was good to me. I don't know. I would like to see. I would like to see Short Circuit again, and maybe now, even though it would just be like Wall-E or something.
You could remake Short. That's a good answer. That's a great answer. Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like that's a sympathy vote, but
No, you totally could, and like it's not a sympathy vote because no kid this day is watching Short Circuit. Like no
no,
one's seen him.
Short Circuit was very fun to go up and watch, and I thought it's not like it's like a robot movie that isn't like so like you're gonna cause the end of the world by making this robot. It's just like this fun little robot that is trying to find. I think it's like existence, trying to define existence.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't really remember the plot.
It's so funny that you were like, oh, it'd be kind of like Wall-E, because I was like, it'd be fun, like Flubber, and like that's nothing like Short Circuit at all. I don't know why Flubber came to my
I
head.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd just be fun to me.
I think you could absolutely remake Short Circuit for today's audience. Definitely, you get the guys who do Stranger Things to make it. Like they love the '80s so much. Like the Duffer Brothers, get them to do it.
You know what is another horror movie that I sort of scarred me growing up? The Blob.
I've never seen The Blob, but I've heard it's really good. But yeah, The Blob is terrifying.
Yeah, it's so dumb, but it was like as a kid, it scared me.
It's such a simple premise. It's like, look, it's going to absorb everything. Doesn't matter how far you run.
Yeah,
like it's going to absorb everything. Like that's a terrifying concept.
The moment that really scared me is when you saw all the dead bodies, their faces in the blob. That for me, that was like, okay, so like that's what makes it scary, is that they're just holding onto the bodies and they're sort of part of it now. That's the scary part.
There was I don't know how true this was, but I remember about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, there was a rumor that they were remaking The Blob and Rob Zombie was attached to it, and I was like, that is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But it never obviously happened. But yeah,
I don't know if you could remake The Labyrinth, but I would like to see a new take on it, maybe.
Who do you cast as? Do you do it as a sequel and you bring Jennifer Connelly back, or do you do a remake with a brand new girl?
You make Harry Styles the Labyrinth guy.
Interesting, because my go-to was going to be Tilda Swinton, because she's very androgynous, like David Bowie was. But I like Harry Styles as a choice. That's
Harry Styles has a lot of that influence, and I think he'd be like, if he was to do a movie. I know he's done a few, but like it'd be cool to bring him in.
But he's a Marvel guy now. He's going to be in. He's going to have his own Marvel movie apparently. So
yeah. Apparently, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I've seen talks about like the character.
Well, he showed up at the end of Eternals, so like generally they pay those things off. So
yeah, but yeah, no, I think Labyrinth they could redo.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Harry Styles is a very interesting choice because he's not a bad actor. I think when he first started showing movies, everyone was like, "Oh, pop star guy," but I don't know, seems pretty interesting. Why not?
I mean, they did it with David Bowie, so why not?
Exactly, yeah. That's a good choice. I wouldn't have thought of him, but I think it's a good choice. Yeah,
and I feel like we haven't had one of the movies in ages. Like one of them, sort of like whimsical fantasy sort of movies. So we could, I mean, like, yeah, we haven't had much of anything, like not like the 80s and 90s. Like, I feel like we don't get that diversity in box office movies.
Yeah. We were talking about one a couple of weeks ago, one that I adore from the 80s, and it took me forever to get around to see it, but when I did, I fell in love with it, and that's The Princess Bride. Like, why are we getting another, like, that's another one you could remake, I think. I know it's beloved, but like, you could do something with The Princess Bride again. It's a wonderful, very simple. I guess they almost kind of did it with Stardust. It's not the exact same story, but it's a very similar kind of premise. But even that's like over 10 years old.
What is The Princess Bride? I've seen it, but I've never.
It's my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I know this movie. Yeah, I know this movie.
It's great. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, I know this movie. Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, excellent. Nice one. Well, that's it. So we're going to remake Labyrinth and we're going to remake Short Circuit. A couple of good answers, and I like that.
Who does the voice for Short Circuit?
That's a really interesting question. Like, do you go celebrity or just get a voiceover guy? Because the voice of
Danny DeVito.
I mean, that is the only answer I care about now. Danny DeVito is Short Circuit. I didn't even know the Rovers was number 5, so that doesn't make sense. He can't be called Short Circuit.
That's a bit weird, actually. Danny DeVito playing a robot called Short Circuit.
No, that's great. That is the perfect casting. Excellent. So that is the end of the show. You survived another one, Josh. You'll be back again, I'm sure. I was telling you my plans for what's coming up in the future as well, so you'll be definitely involved in all of those. Do you have anything to plug, anything you want to share or get people to go and have a look at the moment?
No.
No, he doesn't. We gave him an opportunity, guys. He said no.
No.
Let's try.
Just here for
Do you have like an Instagram that you want to get people to follow?
Let's
No.
plug you.
Okay. No worries at all. I can only try. Jump on Instagram. You can follow the show at I Was a Teenage Film Snob. There's underscores between each of the words because Instagram doesn't like me. I don't know. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Please like the show. Give us a 5-star review. Apparently that makes a big deal. I don't know. Write a nice review as well. Say the show is great. If you don't like it, don't write anything. I will
give us 5 stars.
Yeah, give me 5 stars and say it was okay. I wish you knew more about 80s films. That's fair. I'll be back with a new guest next week. We're going to be continuing our adventure into the 80s for the next few weeks, and then there'll be some more changes. Also, I know it's very early to talk about, but Halloween is coming up in October, so we will be doing some very cool things for that as well. In the meantime, thank everyone for listening. Thank you to Josh for being on the show. And as I say every week, I was a teenage film snob, but guys, I'm really trying to be better. We'll see you next week.